In the video you're about to watch, I want to take you on a little journey outside to where I sketch people in the public, in streets, in parks, and everywhere in the city, also known as urban sketching. Now, if I manage to capture your curiosity, I will give you some tips on how you can start drawing people in public, and I will also show you 4 of my favorite places to go urban sketch people in public. Hey guys, it's illustrator named Casper here. I want to start out by talking a bit about why I like go and urban sketch and draw people this way. I like urban sketching for several reasons. I see it as a tool to portray or document my surroundings in a very artistic and personal way. Urban sketching gives me a lot of inspiration in my work and it helps me build up a style. I like the fact that there's no deeper purpose of sketching people and that I allow myself to use any kind of medium that I want to. For some reason, I've always been fascinated with watching people on the street because they're so different, and I keep returning to people as a favorite motive to draw. What I believe that urban sketching does is that it really enhances the fact that every person has a story to tell. They tell stories through their clothes. They tell stories with their posture and their body, the way they walk. Are they old? Are they young? How does their hair look? How do they dress? Are they rich or poor? What does their faces tell? Where are they heading? It seems that when I'm observing and sketching people, time becomes almost stretched in the way that it becomes more intense and more sensuous. I start noticing little details in people that I wouldn't have if I didn't draw them. And discovering these small details and drawing them and getting them right there on the paper makes me happy. It's a happiness that's quite difficult for me to explain. I guess it's some sort of happiness for just being here in life and just watching all this diversity unfold before my eyes and kind of documenting this diversity in paper. It's quite magical. Urban sketching is not about representing reality one-to-one. It's really about interpreting your reality. You choose what resonates with you, and as such, I think that urban sketching drawings becomes highly personal because they simply show other people who you are and what your language is and what you want to show the world. Now, after all this talking, and if you're starting to feel that your fingers are eager to do some urban sketching, then I have some good news for you because I have summed up a few tips for you if you want to go and sketch people in the public. So my first tip on sketching people in public is to prepare your mindset on the fact that failure does not exist. You have to prepare your mindset to be open before you start sketching in public. When drawing real people in public, it means that they obviously are going to move around, and this also means that you usually don't have a lot of time to sketch people in. Therefore, you have to be open to the fact that you will not achieve perfect drawings. You can risk that your chosen subject moves around or walks away, and thus you don't get to finish your drawing. And that's just a thing you have to accept. If you get kind of upset about this, then you will be disappointed in doing urban sketching. Sometimes you might just get to do a few lines and then your subject kind of moves around or maybe walks entirely out of your sight. And other times you get lucky and you have a model sitting there and posing for you several minutes. You simply never know. This is why it's such a good idea to tell yourself before urban sketching that failure does not exist. You're simply exploring and you're ready to receive a gift that you do not know yet what it's going to be. Choosing what to draw. Honestly, the motive will come to you. Once you've sat down a place and you're in this area and ready to sketch, try and just feel the presence around you. Try to scan the area. What's going on here? If it's your first time drawing in public, you can start by drawing your shoe or a can on the ground or a rock or a leaf, whatever. And it doesn't really matter what you draw. It just helps you get into the zone and kind of being comfortable just sitting there and sketch. After a while, you can start to look around you and see if something interesting is going on. And there probably is, since you're in the city and drawing and there's always people in the city. See if there's a person that catches your attention. Maybe it's a person that has something characteristic, or is doing some kind of activity that you're curious on. Then you just start slowly observing and drawing this person. It can seem overwhelming to think that you should draw the whole figure of this person, and remember that no one says you should. An idea here is to just focus on a little part of that person. Maybe the person has a noteworthy hat on, or maybe the person has a characteristic face. A fun idea is also to focus on drawing people's shoes, and I promise you, you will be surprised about how much you can learn about just looking at a person's shoes. You can also focus on drawing people's hands. Hands are very characteristic and they communicate a lot about what the person is doing and how the person is in terms of personality. Sketching the figure with just a few scripted lines is also a great way to practice your quick poses, gesture drawing. After a while, you'll start to remember more and more, and after a while you can also even try to finish the pose even though the subject, the person that you're drawing, has walked away. Drawing people unnoticed. Well, it's like this. The more you look at people and the more intense you look at people, the more the chances are that they will notice you. And personally, I prefer that people don't notice, because they will then be more calm if they don't notice me and act more natural. And that's what we want to do. We want to draw them while they're in the state of natural positions. So the best way to draw people is to draw them while they're occupied. Reading a book, for instance, taking a nap, being in a conversation. Over the past years, I have noticed that I've been able to sketch much more faces than before actually, which is because of the smartphone. Here's another tip. A general rule of thumb is that the more distance you have between the subject that you draw, the easier it is to draw them without being noticed. The problem here is that you compromise with how many details you can achieve, because the further you are from your subject, of course, it's going to be more difficult to see details on them. Now, if you start moving closer to people, it can be a really good idea to place yourself so you have some blocking elements between you and the subject that you're drawing. If it's a sunny day, put on your sunglasses, as you can use these to camouflage that your eyes are studying a person very intensely. When you go sketching, the format matters. If you choose an A3 sketchbook, you're kind of shouting out to people, "Hey, I'm drawing you." So instead of that, choose something smaller like A5 or even smaller. If I go to the subway or theater and draw people where the crowd is more dense, I bring a small sketchbook. If I'm at the park or a library with a good distance, I can then choose a larger sketchbook. To get used to the feeling of sketching people in public, it can be a great idea to be in a group of other urban sketchers or sit with a good friend. This helps everything to feel more casual and nice. You're just hanging there and drawing people, no big deal. So I really hope that you could use some of my tips. Here's a bonus feature of 4 of my favorite places to go and sketch people in public. Cafes. Cafes make out great spots to sketch people, especially the ones with those large open windows facing the street. Here you can buy a coffee and sit for an hour or two and observe people and draw people. And chances are pretty good that you'll catch someone on the phone, someone waiting on the bus, or if you want a challenge, people biking or people walking by you. And while you're there, you might as well just scan the cafe and see if there's a neighbor that you could sketch. Here's a perfect opportunity for sneaking in a very good portrait. The library. I love being at the library, and it's a place that will give you a very good chance that you can draw people unnoticed. People's attention is directed towards the books that they're reading or the laptop that they're working on, and this means that they don't move around very fast, and you'll have a good amount of time to really draw some interesting poses and some interesting faces. Public transportation. This is one of my favorites because while cafes and libraries are good places, the good thing about public transportation is that you will meet every person from all classes of society and a great span of age. I bring my smallest sketchbook in the subway, bus or train because here it's kind of difficult to be discreet. People will quickly notice if you have a sketchbook with you and you draw people. If it should happen that the person you draw starts noticing that you draw him or her, then just simply draw something you'll see out of the window or doodle something on your sketchbook. And then when the person loses interest in you, then you can go ahead and draw that person again. It's really great to draw in the subway because just having that sketchbook in your bag and then just saying to yourself that when I take the subway, I'll just make one sketch in my sketchbook when I take the subway. then you'll start to draw more and more and being comfortable in drawing in public spaces. And just making that one drawing every time you take a subway is going to be many drawings in time. Parks. Parks are great because people do so many different activities here. We have people relaxing, people walking their dogs, kids playing. This is also a place where you can really practice some dynamic quick poses which really increase your drawing skills. That was my bonus feature here of urban sketching people. Let me know in the comments if you think I should do some more urban sketching videos. And also, I want to make a shout out to one of my loyal YouTube watchers out there who hinted me about a podcast called the Sneaky Art Podcast. It's a podcast only about urban sketching. It has some of the most inspiring interviews about drawing and urban sketching that crossed my road. So big recommendation from here. And remember, urban sketching is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Till next time, have fun drawing.